I think an interesting thing to keep in mind is like we're all very different. And my athleticism when I was young, it's not like I used to move like Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean? Like I've never possessed that. I mean, the capacity on that guy is fucking crazy, right? And any other just really high level athlete you can think of, I didn't have those capacities. Not even sure if I have those capabilities, to be totally honest. I don't like any ceiling on anything, but just being honest, like when I first lifted weights, it made sense to me. I lifted a little heavier than my friends, and I was like, this will probably be something that I pursue the rest of my life. Like I knew it pretty early on. I think, maybe I lifted weights for 6 months. And then after that, I was like, yep. Like not only am I stronger than my friends when I started without really doing much, now I'm way fucking stronger than them. Like they couldn't move hardly the bar. And then sometimes having 10s on each side was crazy for them. And I was able to put 25s on each side and move it around just after my brother showed me a couple times how to do it. Yeah. And so I kind of like I gravitated towards it. But each person's going to have their own journey. And for you to get something in particular, for me to get more mobile, it's going to be a motherfucker. Like it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to require me to think about it a lot. We understand and we know that somebody's going to be really, really good at something the more time they spend doing it. However, there are people that have some really awesome natural talents, and sometimes they don't have to spend as much time perfecting that trade. But that's okay. You just have to look at it and say, cool for them. That ain't me. I might require a little bit more time. I dealt with the same thing in school. I would go over reading stuff. I'd go over math stuff, and they'd say, you understand it? I'd be like, yep. And the second I went to do it on my own, apparently I didn't understand it. I would try again and again. All right, you got it, Mark? Yes. I'd go to do it again, and it wasn't there. I couldn't retrieve it. I had a hard time figuring it out. So it took a lot of time, and that as a kid, that like broke me down. That made me very upset. But I had to just accept it at some point. I had to get real with myself and say, do you actually think that there's no possible way that you can learn that? Or do you think that maybe there's just a small disconnect going on in your brain where you might have to concentrate on this a little longer than the next guy? But so what? I grew up with clothes on my back. I grew up in a really nice house. I grew up with amazing parents. I had everything. So this one, what am I going to do? Sit there and focus in on this one thing that's like my struggle? No, this is part of my story. This is here for me for a reason. This is like meant to be. It's like, you hear Joe Rogan talking about like you're writing your own story, your own movie. You're the hero of your own movie type of thing.
Don't forget Andrew, can you pull up James Smith page real quick? Did you see the recent video that James Smith posted?
I did not see. I saw something he posted where he was talking about somebody else, but I don't remember who he was talking about.
Was it an Asian dude?
I don't recall.
Okay, what you just said, I literally saw this video this morning. I find it so funny. That first one.
We love James Smith, by the way. And I love the fact that he's always in his little skivvies.
Yeah.
Always.
Letting it all go. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I can't see. Hold on.
Okay.
There we go.
Sure, you're spending 7 minutes.
Not only is this guy kind of annoying,
2 sets of 30 seconds of sit-up twists.
I want to bring something to your attention. Something called the swimmer's body illusion. Imagine someone, if you will, that wants to get in shape. They think the bodybuilders look too swollen and stupid, and they think runners look too skinny and miserable. They go, oh, swimmers, they've got amazing physiques. I'll start swimming. 3, 4, 5 months in, they realize they don't look like a swimmer. They're like, what the fuck is up? They then come to realize that swimmers don't look the way they do because they swim. They swim because of the way they look. People think I'm big and broad because I played rugby. No, I played rugby because I was big and broad. When my whole school year went to play rugby, only the big guys and the fast guys and the athletic guys actually enjoy it. Then they continue doing it and getting better. Those that don't. So when we see people in shape like this, I'm sure he works very hard, but genetically spread across populations are some people that are just going to build muscle quite easily and remain relatively lean with minimal effort. So people like this don't look the way they do because of what they're preaching. They're preaching what they preach because of the way they look. So why most personal trainers are really incredibly unfucking relatable. They're a non-empathetic, broccoli-wielding ball bag. And because they're in good shape, their friends go, you should be a personal trainer. They wonder why it doesn't last out. They're only doing the job because of the way they look. They're not the way they look because of the job they do. It's important to keep that in mind whenever you see some cunt in baby oil online tensing his muscles and telling you to do ab workouts.
Kings, it's not too
That was
Dude,
fantastic.
that was amazing. I love that. And I totally wish somebody said that to me way sooner.
I love it, and I also dislike it quite a bit.
There's a lot of love there.
There's a lot of love. There's a lot of love because it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because, you know, some, like you were mentioning, you know, you got on the weight on the bar and you were able to lift more than your friends. And someone who hears your story then hears what James said is going to be like, well, Mark's only doing what he's doing because he was talented in the beginning. He had a talent. So he drove into that, and that was his thing. That's the main reason. So I'm just going to kind of discard what he says because he's talented and he's genetically gifted for it. Cool. So you don't do shit and you stay the way you are.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So the thing is like, as truthful as what James said is,
you have to find your gifts and do something with them.
you do need to find your gifts and do something with them. But you also, if there's something you like, and even if you're not as immediately gifted as the other guy that just for some reason he did it and he's, after a year, he's a pro. Just because he's a pro doesn't mean you don't keep working at that. Because especially when it comes to the fucking body, a lot of change can happen when a person's consistent. When a person's consistent and stays with that over years. The problem is that most people that try the fitness thing don't see the results they want to see after a few months. And then they see something like that and like, well, I'm not talented. So that's probably why I don't, you know, that. So I'm just going to fucking stop. That's what I don't want people to do. I don't want people to see somebody that's like good at something. Number one, they don't know how many years that person spent doing the thing to look the way they do now, because I've seen so many transformations of people at point A and they look like someone who's not talented, but point B, they're like, wow, you look like you're talented. But no, they probably put in a decade of work that you haven't put in, and you're just saying that they're talented. So as much as there's truth behind James' video, there's a lot of, he's not being devious, but there's this little thing that's going to creep into the minds of quite a few people that's going to tell them to, it's not my thing. I'm not gifted. I'm not talented.
Not going to bother with it.
I'm not going to bother. And that will kill a lot of people's progress and kill a lot of people's goal. Power Project family, I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. Now, Mark, Andrew, and myself have been cold plunging for a while now. We actually use the Cold Plunge XL. But the reason why this has become part of our daily routine every single day is because of honestly how good it makes us feel coming out of that water. Now, if you want to take a cold shower, that is beneficial and you need to be doing that if you don't have a cold plunge. But if you do get a cold plunge that goes all the way down to 39 degrees, it's crazy because Andrew Huberman actually talked about the benefits of dopamine post cold plunging. Now, cocaine gives you a 2.5 rise in your dopamine release. Cold plunging gives you that also, but it also gives you a sustained higher level of dopamine throughout your day. That's just one of the benefits, as there are many. So if you guys want to get on it, Andrew, how can they?
Oh, yes. You guys got to head over to thecoldplunge.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save $150 off. And before we drop off here, I do have to say that this has been the absolute best thing I have ever done for my mental health. Every single day I get in this cold plunge and I come out a happier, more positive, and more vibrant human. I can't recommend this enough. Again, thecoldplunge.com, promo code PowerProject to save $150 off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Well, also, you know, we tend to leave out parts of our story too. Like I'm leaving out, okay, that was a bench press. I laid down the bench press made sense. I didn't squat forever because putting the bar on my back, I was too much of a pussy. I was like, this hurts. And I wanted to use like one of those pads. The only time I could use one of those pads was like in the high school gym.
I bet Mad Dog probably gave you so much
He was
shit.
like, you're the big, this is fucking disgrace. Like, what are you doing? And that was like, it took me forever to learn how to squat, especially because even back then I didn't have good mobility. So it was like a huge hurdle. I remember building up my like bench press and going to some competitions and stuff, and then being like, oh, I'm glad they have like bench and deadlift because I can't squat. And then finally when I joined like a powerlifting gym, I had a coach and he was like, you aren't proficient in the squat because like no one ever taught it to you. So let me just show you how to do it. And then just like anybody else and just like anything else, I had to like learn it. I wasn't naturally strong at it. It took forever to build up a squat.
But that's the thing. It's like, that's kind of where I think, you know, if you're someone who's starting, or if you started later in the game, just because, like, if you're paying attention to somebody and they look great, just because they look great, you don't realize the amount of work that's gone in to that, the decades that's gone in, figuring things out and actually putting the time in. Because the thing is most people don't put in the time. And if you want to get there, everything that we've done has taken a gradual amount of time. It's taken a lot of figuring out what works for us, figuring out what's best, trial and error of a lot of different things. And that's what it's going to take. It's not an easy thing. And that's why it's like, what I think of that video right there is that it's good, but for many individuals who don't look at themselves as being talented, it's going to implant a little mind virus. It's going to implant a mind virus.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing is, to his point, and this is stuff that I've thought about in the past, it's like, when have you ever seen a fat surfer? You know, you ever see a fat guy with a surfboard? It's like, you probably don't ever recall seeing that.
Didn't Rodney Dangerfield do a movie where he's like surfing?
He definitely did a movie where he was a diver.
Yeah, I remember.
He did the triple Lindy. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? Like, and then you're like, is it the activity of like hauling a board to the beach? Because I always see those guys, I'm always like, that seems crazy. Like they're walking from really far away, you know, with this giant
from their cabin in the mountains. And
yeah,
shit.
this fucking giant ass board, and they're like, is it the activity that burns the calories, or are they out there pumped about surfing because they've always looked pretty good? Like or same thing with like beach volleyball. Kind of rare to see someone real heavy out there. Is it because they're out there and they don't eat? Like they're out there forever playing volleyball. They're active. But again, like whatever your thing is that you might have a little tiny push forward on than somebody else, you still have to find it. You still have to carve it out. You still have to work on it, refine it.
Yeah, the reason why I was digging what James Smith was saying, because, you know, with, YouTube comments and stuff, everyone kind of assumes they know everything because it's like, oh, well, Arnold never did sissy squats, so obviously those don't work. You know, like, why would you waste your time doing this and that? It's like, well, maybe he was already going to be big and he was going to gravitate towards squats or whatever it was.
And he didn't have any issues with his
And he
back.
didn't have any, yeah, exactly, right? So it's like, the way you explain it, we're almost kind of getting at the same thing where it's like people will get something in their mind and be like, nope, because so-and-so did it. That's the only way you're going to do it. The only way you're going to get big is if you grow up playing soccer, you get into bodybuilding, then try powerlifting, then do jujitsu. That's the only way you can look like Nsima. And I just think that, like, again, it's the same thing.
We're just trend. Just like Nsima's on trend. So.
Well, I didn't want to tell everybody, but I'm glad you did. Now that that's on the table. But you know what I mean? Like, I guess it's the same mind virus. It's just the cousin of the one you were talking about.
Hey guys, I've seen that you guys have been commenting about how much you hate the whispering outro, asking you to like, comment, and subscribe. So I'm going to whisper again because I know you don't like it. So hey, I know we're bringing you some good content. So like, comment, subscribe, and share it with some friends so we can all help each other out. And maybe I'll stop whispering in your ear. Bye.